I have three ideas I've been thinking about because in real life it's happening right now as I'm looking at some options. I'm going to give you three ideas. You haven't heard this before, or you might have, but I want to get your initial take on it and let's just jam on it, right? So just to see.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
these are all in the, I'll call it in the consumer space and a little bit into the enterprise, but I'll start with some of the consumer space. Okay, so as you know, there's a lot of layoffs happening right now. A lot of people are will who are working in companies will have Cobra to support them for 6 months, and then they're kind of on their own. So I had a friend of mine who just called me yesterday. Said his wife lost her job, but their whole family was on her insurance. And then he's a consultant, so he doesn't have insurance. I said, okay. And then we're all looking at it. So what happens if the spouse that has the insurance loses job? What do you do, right? My God,
Gotcha.
there's nothing clear about this whole thing. And it's super expensive. I didn't ever think about it because I was always had insurance through my company. But I'm not kidding. If you want to go get insurance as a family of four, and if you wanted to go do something, there's gold, silver, bronze, all kinds of nonsense. But the bottom line is, you're looking about between $2,000 to $3,000 a month for
Wow.
health insurance for me to replace what I have right now. Does that make sense?
Okay, that's a lot.
So
Okay.
that's a setup, right? So as a consultant, like let's say everybody's like, go be a consultant. These are things you don't even think about. I never thought about it. So this is an interesting option. So the other side is, where do you find this information? I went to Reddit. There's healthcare marketplaces, and then if you make below a certain amount, you get Obamacare, like that kind of care. But then if you make more, you're not qualified for this. But if you have a good health, there are agents that can help you reduce your cost by 30-40%. Is such a nebulous I mean, there's so much opportunity because there's where I think AI can help personally is where there's information kind of all over the place. Can you put it all together and do this? Because right now, when there are agents or middlemen in there, all they do is taking information and making money out of it, right? So that's what I'm. It could be people who are over 60 who just lost it. They have Medicare. They also have to insurance. My in-laws are looking for insurance. They are overwhelmed with the options, right? There's no easy way. So that's my take. This I just want to set that up. I don't know if you've done any research on it, but it's super expensive. So much information all over the place. No easy way to look at it. I feel like it's a great opportunity for not just one, a lot of startups in the space to be able to consolidate and be like an advisor, right? But who's paying for it? How will they get paid? Those are the kind of things we talk about. But just wanted to get your initial thoughts on it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I hear this, I think, especially in terms of healthcare and insurance in general, right? I think the cost I can think about, maybe if you are taking this and say, hey, extend it to one more level, where say, hey, if some information that's available through AI and it's provided to an insurance agency that can better underwrite, this cost can come down. That's one way to look at it, right? And maybe there's a innovation waiting to happen there to get all that information to the insurance company so they can actually underwrite better, because everybody's underwriting based on whatever the information they're collecting currently in the way they are
Mhm.
collecting, right? So the second aspect of it is educating or giving information to the people who are looking for these options, right? And I think that's already proven out that you can have a personalized AI system where you can query locally or even set it up on the cloud, where it has a treasure trove of knowledge that it has ingested and accumulated, where it can answer questions to get to your option that works for you. And that's one other way. Third way is a nice compromise I can think of. I recently had an opportunity to look at a product called Double, right, where you don't take the entire approach of feed the machine and let it spit out. You can always create a standardized form of Q&A that can be passed down to the experts who can actually answer from the other side, right? So it cuts down the response time. So, and it also cheapens the cost, where you don't have to actually sit in front and talk to a person to provide you with a bunch of options. These are the things that come to my mind. I think in all these aspects, people can definitely benefit, just AI assisted
I
or
mean, as you're
fully.
talking through
Yeah.
that, yeah, it makes sense. As you're talking through that, it makes sense. Like I'm always in my head, I was thinking about, okay, you don't send your personal information, but what if you can bucket saying these, like in when it comes to credit rating, there's subprime, there's prime, there's excellent credit.
Correct.
So if we get a pool of families that are excellent health, can you give them a different right now? And then another pool, we know their pre-existing conditions, but we're not going to know every one of them. But as a group, can you give them something, right? It's a risk mitigation thing, right, for the companies too. So
Right. And it's also very difficult, especially healthcare. I've lived in the States for nearly 25 years, and it's not shared among multiple doctors or hospitals. And there is no one place to go get anything, right?
right.
So it makes the job that much difficult, and they have to do an independent assessment of you to provide any healthcare, right? And that's the. I don't think that's getting disrupted anytime soon, because some hospitals are trying to integrate your data, but some are not. It's a big mess. So I don't know how much efficiency. Yeah.
It is a big pain point, and I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for the entrepreneurs who are listening to this to at least, look under one more layer to make some decisions about it. So
Yeah, I
there's a
think
couple
you
more.
you own you own your medical records. That's probably one way to do it, right? Whenever you go to doctor, you get that, and it exists in your system. Now you can use that to shop around. That might absolutely work, but as a patient, how rigorous are you, right? You're not going to collect it, so it has to come to you every time somehow. And there's definitely ways people can innovate to do that.
Yeah, there's an aggregation play, there's a analysis play, and then there's definitely a consulting play where you don't have to go to a specialist every time, just like a lawyer. Assistance as sometimes as important, and even a registered nurse can. There's so much opportunity here that I'm blown away. Even for the $2,000, $3,000 a month insurance, your deductible is like $10,000 to $20,000 as a family. Like who can afford this? I don't understand. So a lot of people are choosing. I went into Reddit. I went into the whole rabbit hole. They're choosing to not to be insured because to them it's cheaper to go see a doctor because they're healthy enough and pay out of pocket rather than own $2,000 insurance. So anyway, I didn't even know this is an issue. It's a brewing issue underneath, and I think we need to somehow, find some solutions for it. So moving on, sports analytics. So this is a big thing. Football season is coming up. Used to be big into the daily fantasy. I stopped because I was got into AI. I've been focused on it, but it's coming up. I think I told you this. I did just an Excel-based program that I had that was right about 65% of the time, and that's how much you have to be right to actually make money after the house takes a little spread. So the bottom line is there's so much opportunity in the analytics. I'm just talking about football as one, but to be able to, because a company came up for sale, they've been losing revenue. I was wondering why. They had a proprietary projection, or were they based on the spread they were giving codes, but I guess it's not doing as well. So the revenues are going down. They're coming up for sale. It just didn't look very attractive, but made me think about, okay, what can we do? What can LM do or AI do well is crunching all these numbers from various sources and giving you ideas, right? So it is an amazing opportunity, whether you're a daily fantasy player or somebody who's in the NBA or NFL, can they use this and how are they using it? So I'll pause. I know you're not a big sportsman, but the analytics part of it, I'm pretty sure is interesting to you.
Oh, absolutely. I think when we think about number crunching or taking a lot of data points and trying to find needle in a haystack type of situation, I think that's where these systems excel. Again, I don't know what the cost would be depending on the size of data. That's where I think it would be. Earlier we spoke about, is anyone making money? They might find something, but the question is how much is it worth finding that money? So that need to be evaluated, right? But in a betting type of industry, maybe there is opportunities.
Absolutely. Okay, last one. This is mostly, I think I sent you. So this is most of the. I don't know how much you know about the OpenAI marketplace. There's a lot of people offering their what do you call that? Their product for there, but I don't know if anybody's actually making money. I don't know the answer to that. But this is one of them. Chat PRD. This person developed it over a couple of weekends. How to be a product? It's a product manager. That's what PRDs. They write PRDs. Product managers write PRDs, which is a product review document or
requirement.
So, anyway,
requirement,
they
Yeah.
Sorry, what is it?
Product requirement documents.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, product requirements. Okay, product requirement documents. So sometimes you have to like take the roadmap and be able to write it, and every time you develop a new release, you have to write these. So this whole thing helps them. A tool, if you give it the roadmap, give it some pointers, it creates PRDs for you. Okay, that's what that is. So I was thinking about what are other things that has a lot of administrative, which is a project manager, program manager roles I've done before. Are there opportunities similar to this where you give it some templates and say, hey, this is a new project, this is what we're trying to accomplish? Can it create a project charter? Can it create project documentation? Not get you 100% there, but 60-70% is almost repeat, copy and paste, and you never start from a blank thing, but it's very focused on this. She's doing really well. So what are your thoughts on other opportunities that are very narrow focused, but you kind of train the model and it really doesn't hallucinate and it gives you some suggestions? So I was thinking project manager, program manager. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we early on when we visited where people are tackling or are actually inserting AI to get some productivity boost, right? Like it started with content writing, and then it evolved into some of these niche product managers, right? I think there was a wave of what's going to happen to product managers now that AI is trying to take away our jobs and it's going to write requirement documents. Now I have gone through this in my mind, like even if I, because we are startup guys, and if you're, it might help
Mhm.
early on, but I don't think you can eliminate any of these people, because every time you involve a human, there's a slight variation here, a decision point there that actually helps putting these things together to, because you have to work very closely with the people who are actually coming up with these ideas, right? This is merely a way to come to an agreement, sort of, right? If you take the use case where something has been said in a meeting and something is written down, and now everybody has to agree on it and move on to the next meeting. This is where I think a lot of wasted hours can be gained, right? How many meetings have you sat through, and the next meeting is like, oh, I didn't say that, or you didn't say that, or whatever it is. So I think that's one of the use cases I can think of when you think of all these use cases where it can save time coming to the agreement of what has been decided, right? Be it a product requirement or some other requirement or whatever it is for project managers. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I think maybe this is a good thing. People probably will like meetings again, right? Because people typically hate meetings. They sit there and it goes on and on and on. And again, next meeting is about the same thing again, and with a little twist here and there.
That's true. We can definitely improve efficiency, but to your point, I don't think it is. I would consider this as a replacement. I would consider it as an assistant or a project assistant. Apparently, in a full-fledged project manager role, there's a project assistant who does more of the administrative work, because 60% of a project manager program is administrative work. But if you can get that done by somebody, even 50% there, and to your point, there's always a human in the loop, kind of bringing it to completions, validating. And if you have an assistant or a junior person doing this, you'll still review it, and the junior gets better every day. I
Right.
see opportunities as everybody having a personalized assistant for the role that you're doing that helps you with some of the grunt work, right? So I see that's where it's going. I don't see it replacing anytime soon, but I feel like there's a lot of value for sure.
Right. To answer your question, which specific areas, right? I always tend to look at, okay, content writing is too generic. Then you can say technical content writing, because with certain vocabulary inserted, it can start spinning out some specific
Mhm.
technicalities or in a particular field, right? And that's where because we are software guys, we talk about product requirement to actually high level design, low level design, whatever. We continue to go down the path and eventually start writing code. You can already see every one of these is touched a little to bring some more velocity to what you do, right? And I think the same exists as long as you take some writing, AI writing skill, and tag along a specific vocabulary, right? Be it legal, be it whatever highly technical job, or I think it immediately becomes a useful thing, because now you don't need to train someone on the vocabulary, right, to get up to speed and come up with that stuff. So along those lines, I think every industry is this is just a moniker, a product officer, but they can benefit from a lot of the things that AI has. has to offer. But yeah, you have to train,
Absolutely.
come up with that particular
Uh,
vocabulary.
That is absolutely right. There's definitely an evolution as you get the vocabulary, right? That's even though we're all speaking English, each one of these verticals has their own language. So I know we can keep jamming on more ideas, but I think these three were good. I'll try to come up with some for our next session. But until then, thank you, Balaji. See you guys next time.
All right, cool. Thanks, Rajni.